Y'all know how every friend group got that one friend who just does things differently. Let's try to imagine an entire culture of people who've been programmed to operate on a completely different frequency than the rest of humanity. Welcome to military life, where normal is weird and weird is normal. So here's something that'll blow your mind about military folk. They're entirely incapable of being on time. And I mean that in the best way. See, if you tell a military person to show up at 8 o'clock, they're gonna show up at 7:45. And that's the minimum. And they're not just arriving. They've already made their rounds. They done already got something to drink. If they're going to work, they didn't already read the turnover log to see what's going on. They've been there. And this comes from a saying that was drilled into them from day one. If you're 15 minutes early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late. I remember when I first joined, I was like, wait a minute. You told me to show up at 8 o'clock. And if I show up at 8 o'clock, I'm late? Unfortunately, that's just the way it is. But here's the wild part. This don't go away. There's some people who've been out the military 10, 20, even 30 years. They married 3 kids now. And for a soccer game, they're going to show up 15 minutes early. And they're going to be the only ones sitting there looking stupid. You can't help it. That's just the way it is. Next thing I want to talk about is the secret language that military people use. You ever been talking to somebody and about halfway through the conversation, you realize we are not speaking the same language, even though you're both speaking English. That's every conversation with military people. A normal person would be like, yeah, I'm gonna head home after the gym, but I gotta grab something to eat before 1 o'clock. A military person be like, roger that, I'm a RTB after PT. You know, I gotta hit the DFAC before 1300. And you're like, my brother in Christ, what did you just say? See, the military doesn't just teach you a job. You learn a whole new dialect. They got acronyms for everything. You got code words. You be speaking like you're on the radio. It's like we went to a school of like hard works, but instead of like learning magic, we just learned a bunch of abbreviations. You got people out here spelling their name in the phonetic alphabet while ordering Starbucks. Talking about some Bravo, Oscar, Bravo. Bro, your name is Bob, and that's a latte. Cut it out. Honestly, I've been in the military 19 years now, and there's still conversations that I find myself in. I'm like, what are y'all talking about? Especially like if you go to a different career field and you start hearing some of the stuff that they say, some of their jargon, then you feel kind of stupid because you don't understand, so you just be shaking your head like, yeah, you don't know what the hell they talking about. Next thing I want to talk about, the damn knife hand. All right, check this out. You know how when you're making a point, you might actually like point at something with your finger. You be like, all right, you know, Obama, when he's talking, he does this. I think it's that. Something like that, right? In the military, they don't do that. They do the knife hand. They do this. It's something that I used to see all the time when I was coming up. I don't see many people knife handing anymore unless they're like old school. But it was an art. It's basically this perfectly flat, rigid hand gesture that says I'm making a point, and I could also theoretically use this hand as discipline if necessary. That's that old school stuff. I know every drill instructor from every branch still does it, but once you start doing it, after a while, it just kind of becomes how you point, like at groceries, at your kids, when you need the remote. It's just the way you start pointing at things. I'm not much of a knife hand user myself. I always feel like it's like super aggressive to talk like that, but I definitely seen it coming up. Here's something that I definitely do at least like once a week. You got like these phantom hats, like when you're about to exit a building or when you're about to go into a building. If you're like not in your uniform, you still kind of reach for your hat. You still kind of look for a hat before you go outside the building, or you touch your head when you come inside of a building. It's this weird thing, man. Like you just get so used to taking off a hat or putting a hat on, you start looking like, where's my hat? Where's my hat? Am I good? Am I good? Like if I walk into a building with sunglasses on, I gotta remember to take them off. And the worst thing you could do is actually lose your hat. You got people walking outside acting like this is okay. Like if I just put my hand on top of my head, I'm good. Let everybody know, hey, I forgot my hat. I don't even understand this. I don't understand why we just think that this universally is okay if you lose your hat. Like this next one is a result of basic training, I believe. You ever tried to take a casual walk with somebody from the military? I mean, just like a little casual walk, maybe inside of a Target store or a Walmart or something. The military folks be moving, man. They don't just walk, they be advancing. They be acting like every trip to the grocery store is like a tactical move. Every errand is like an operation. You just be inside the mall trying to stroll, trying to browse, window shop. These military folks gonna be moving. They gonna be hitting it. And I'm not talking about like walk ahead a little. I'm talking about gone. Like you gotta keep up. And I say this comes from basic training because when you're in basic training, everything is moving fast. Like if you moving slow, you're gonna get smoked. The TI, the drill instructor, they gonna come at your head. Everything is being timed in basic training. You only got so much time. You got a little bit of time to do this. You got a little bit of time to do this. So you just gotta be moving everywhere, just fast. So you just start learning to move with purpose, even when there's no purpose to move with. The funny thing is, a lot of people don't even know they're doing it until they walking around like normal civilians and stuff. And then they be like, why y'all moving so slow? But you wanna know what really separates military folks from civilians? It's not how they walk, it's how they tell time. Let me ask you something. If somebody told you to meet them at 1600, would you know what that is? Most civilians wouldn't, unless you grew up like in a military household, or they have to stop and like do the math. They'd be like, okay, 16 minus 12, 4 o'clock. Military people, after a while, you don't have to do that math no more. They just know how to tell that time. For me, I don't do the whole minus 12 thing. I just do minus 2. If it's 1600, just subtract 2 from the 6. It's 4 o'clock. If it's 1800, just subtract 2 from the 8, 6 o'clock. The reason why the military uses that 24-hour clock is so you don't confuse it with AM or PM time. Realistically, you could just say AM or PM, but instead we just put that 24-hour clock on there. But it's really just the military using that time as a tool. They're trying to be as precise as possible because they don't want the mission to fall apart because somebody thought that you meant evening time, somebody thought that you meant morning time. So they just use that 24-hour clock so everybody operates on the same standard. I don't normally use military time when I'm giving time, except when I was in Intel. Everything was on a 24-hour clock, and we used like Zulu time, if you even know what that is. Look, there I go again with damn acronyms and phonetic alphabets. So the next time you hear somebody use like 1430, they're not just trying to be extra. That's probably genuinely just how their brain processes time now. And that actually explains a lot about this next habit. Let's talk about the fuel that keeps the military running. Caffeine. And I'm not talking about like normal caffeine intake. I'm talking about a caffeine level that will put most people in the hospital. I seen some of these young military dudes drink like 3 Monster Energy cans before like lunch. They ain't even eat breakfast yet. It's just straight energy drinks. Then you got the legendary Rippets. Y'all remember those? The ultra caffeinated drinks. It tasted like battery acid with a little bit of berry juice inside. Splendid. This drink became somehow, I don't understand it, the unofficial drink of a deployment. I used to walk around with Rippets in my cargo pockets, like 6 or 7 of them things. And they was like these little cans. You just crack one open, it'll get you through the day. I was at a corner store the other day and I saw Rippets in like a 12-ounce can. It was like that big. I was like, whoa, I didn't even know they made them that big. We always drank them little small things. I got a boss who got so deep into caffeine that he just started drinking pre-workout. Like he wasn't drinking coffee no more. He wasn't drinking energy drinks. He was doing like 3 scoops of pre-workout. And I'm talking about like that explosive stuff, that nitrous oxide stuff. This dude was drinking it. And if he didn't drink it, you knew, because he looked like death. Like he looked sick. Like, hey bro, you get your pre-workout yet? He's not going to work out. Like he's not going anywhere to work out. He's just drinking that stuff. See, when you pulling like a 24-hour duty shift or you've been up since 4 o'clock in the morning, that caffeine isn't a luxury, bro. That's mission critical. Your body starts learning how to run on this stuff. At least some people's bodies. My body never did, man. I get super jitters drinking too much caffeine. I tried to keep up with people in their caffeine intake and I just realized I'm not built like that. But I see it all the time. But as interesting as that is, it's still not as interesting as how military people learn to deal with adversity. Most people, when things go wrong, they complain, they vent, they try to avoid like discomfort. Military people have a phrase. They say, embrace the suck. So in translation, all that means is this situation is terrible. It's absolutely awful, but there's nothing we can do about it. So we just gonna laugh. We gonna have a good time. We gonna get it done. We gonna embrace the suck. If it's pouring down raining and y'all gotta run, you gonna run. You just gonna embrace the suck. If it's 0 degrees outside and you gotta go change an engine out of an aircraft and you can't feel your hands, you gonna embrace the suck. That's all you can do. There's nothing else you can do. If you start complaining, if you start whining about it, you still gotta do it. You might as well embrace the suck. It's a coping mechanism for sure, but it's also like a form of resilience. Like you just learn that you can endure almost anything if you can just find a new way or a new perspective at looking at it. If you could look at your buddy who's just as cold, just as hot, just as exhausted as you, and y'all can just laugh about it, that's how some people get through the day. Civilians will see this and be like, oh my God, are you okay? And the honest answer is like, no, but yes, because the suffering is just temporary, but this shared experience that me and my homie just had through this suck, that's the type of stuff. That's that bond that's gonna last forever. So in my mind, it's like a survival skill that most people never have to develop. But there's also some stupidity that happens in the military that people shouldn't have to go through, but people having a good time make people go through it. Let me paint a picture. It's raining, pouring down actually, and you're standing outside with a mop and you're being told to mop up the rain. The rain that is actually falling from the sky. Somebody's telling you to mop it up. A normal person's gonna be like, that's insane. What are you talking about? But in the military, a young private, a young airman, they're gonna say, yes, sir, and go out there and mop up their rain. That's that's not the only thing that people do to mess with people. They tell people to sweep the sunshine off the sidewalk. They tell people to go find some blinker fluid. I remember when I was in maintenance, they told me to do an echo check on the engine turbine. Basically, you yell in one end of the engine turbine and you try to run around fast enough to the other side to hear an echo. And they basically made me feel like this was a real check that we had to do to make sure that this engine was good before we put it on the plane. So I'm over here yelling in this thing. I run to the other end. Of course, I don't hear it. And they're like, you gotta yell louder. So now I'm screaming, I'm running. They're like, you gotta run faster. It took me about 1 or 2 minutes to know that they was messing with me, but I played the game for about 5 minutes. Finally, they were like, bro, okay, you're good. So as weird as it sounds, part of it is like discipline, just to see if you'll follow orders. Even though they're absurd, this kind of builds like a culture of discipline within the unit. Because realistically, you can't have people questioning those in command. Even though it's playful, they're just trying to see if you're gonna listen. But it's also a test because they just kind of want to see your attitude. Like, if you tell you to go mop up that rain, are you gonna be like a disgruntled person, or are you just gonna be like, hey, whatever, y'all need me to do it, I'm gonna go mop it up? It's really just an attitude check to see who we working with. And as stupid as it sounds, it actually works. Like, if you've ever mopped up rain, then man, you could do a lot. Like, I'm telling you, like, there's not too many jobs that's gonna suck for you if you go outside and mop up some rain. You're gonna be a good troop because you got patience and you got a lot of work ethic to go out there and try to do something like that. And that's hard to find. So the next time you see your military friend and they're grabbing for this invisible hat, or they're walking off fast, or they're using acronyms and stuff, just know that they're not trying to be extra. They're not trying to be different. That's just the way that they're wired now. And honestly, there's something kind of beautiful about that. If you served before, I would love to see some of the habits that y'all developed during your time. Put them in the comments below. But if y'all want to see some weird things that can happen to you in basic training, I got a video on the screen right now breaking all that down. But like I always say, I hope this video brought value to you. Stay beautiful, stay classy, and until next time, check me out.